In this video, let us look into the concepts of active optical components used in wavelength division multiplexing. Fiber grating filters. Let's try to understand what are fiber Bragg gratings. So these are type of distributed Bragg reflectors that are constructed in a short segment of an optical fiber. So this construction is made to reflect particular wavelength of light and transmit all other wavelengths. The figure shows the FPG series. So here it shows a schematic of fiber Bragg grating. The short segment of optical fiber inside the fiber core we can see in the first figure. So it will have a refractive index change wherein it is represented by the period of lambda. So we can see that most of the light are transmitted and some lights are reflected back with the fiber Bragg grating setup. So what kind of effect will this have on the fiber light guiding principles? So we need to understand the close-up view of the fiber Bragg grating. When light with many waves is launched into the fiber Bragg grating, the second figure it is showing the close-up view to understand what happens if the waves are passing inside the gratings. If the wave is in phase with the grating period, this wavelength is reflected back to the input side, okay, and all the other wavelengths is passed to an other end when the waves which are passing are not in phase with the grating period. This principle makes the fiber Bragg grating reflect particular wavelength and transmit all other wavelengths. The fiber Bragg grating is based on the principle of Fresnel reflections. It means that the light traveling in the medium of different refractive indices may have reflections and refractions that existing at the interfaces. So the spectral response of the FPG is shown in the figure. The input spectrum, transmission spectrum and the reflected spectrums are seen. So the transmitted spectrum, we can see that most of the light is transmitted and some part of light is reflected and it is shown in the reflected spectrum. The close-up view of the reflected spectrum is shown in figure 2. We can see there is a lambda b which is called as Bragg grating wavelength. It is also called as a central wavelength that is reflected back from the FPG. So it is given by a factor of or a function of net refractive indices and a lambda. Delta lambda, we can see delta lambda, that is bandwidth of Bragg grating, also called as wavelength spacing. It is a function of delta n naught. So 2 delta n naught neta by pi. That means it is directly proportional to the variation in the refractive indices, that is n2 minus n3 minus n2, and it is also proportional to fraction of the power which is present in the core. So these type of FPGs are used in the cases where spectral reflectors have to be generated and OADMs, dispersion compensators, and to filter a certain bandwidth of wavelength. In such applications we will be using this FPGs. Diffraction gratings. These are a type of an optical components with periodic structures that split and diffracts light into uh, several beams traveling in different direction and at different angle. So the basic principle used in this diffractive grating is that a polychromatic, that is dispersing a beam of various wavelengths into the spectrum by using certain associated lenses. So this is based on the principle of diffraction. So in this figure we can see that an optical device having a coated surface with very fine lines. So when an incoming light or a source is incident on this particular lens, it gets diffracted into different wavelength components. That's the principle of diffraction gratings. and these are basically used in DWDM devices, filters, spectrum analysis, spectrometers, and pulse compressing devices. Active optical components. These are the components which are also similar to the passive optical components, but these require external energy to perform their function efficiently. Some of the active components which has to be discussed here are variable optical attenuators, tunable optical filters, gain equalizers, optical add or drop multiplexers, polarization controllers, and chromatic dispersion compensators. Variable optical attenuators. These are the devices or optical components that attenuates optical signal power to a desired level. This may be required for controlling optical power levels that are used prior to the optical amplifiers or receivers for the channel equalizations, and these are popularly used in electro-optical and MEMS based systems. And important parameters of VOA are attenuation range, and can be parameter can be an accuracy also, and these are the one which also takes care of wavelength balancing before WDM. A typical range of attenuation obtained from such a VOA is ranging from 0 to minus 20 dB, while specific devices can provide higher attenuations up to minus 38 dB. Basically, the VOA provides high level of attenuation, and hence these are used to block a WDM channel. Tunable optical filters. Figure shows tunable optical filters. A set of wavelengths are entering into the tunable optical filter. As we can see in the figure, this tunable optical filter will have some form of control mechanism in such a way to guide and to filter in its dynamic selection to get the desired individual wavelength. Some of the important parameters of tunable filters are wavelength tunability, bandwidth, tuning speed, insertion loss, etc. Dynamic gain equalizer or DGE. The purpose of equalizer is to provide output suitable for detection. The DGEs are used to reduce the attenuation of individual wavelengths within a spectral bands. This compensates various transmission losses on each channel. The figure shows dynamic gain equalizer, wherein the output is obtained from the EDFA amplifier. This is an example showing that output what we are obtaining is from some EDFA amplifier. We can see there are a lot of input variations in the input wavelength spectrum. So after using this DGE at the output side, we can see that the amplitudes of the spectral components are equalized. So this DGE helps in controlling the vast fluctuation in the launched optical power. The applications of such DGEs are used to compensate attenuation losses and add or drop the different light components to the networking mux, and these are also used to overcome the channel attenuations. Optical add or drop multiplexers. These are the devices used in WDM systems for multiplexing and routing different channels of light into or out of the single mode fibers. So these OADMs are designed to add to the network signal stream and drop out one or more wavelength channels. The figure shows the OADM configuration that has 4 input output ports. The add or drop functions are controlled by using MEMS based mirrors that are activated selectively to connect the desired fiber paths. So if none of the mirrors are activated, it means that each incoming channel passes through the switch to output ports. So in the second figure, to have the signal carried on wavelength lambda 3 entering at port 3 drop to port 2. The mirrors are also activated accordingly. Such OADMs are used for routing and switching purposes. Polarization controller is an optical device which allows to modify the polarization state of the light. These can be operated without feedback, typically by manual adjustment or by using electrical signals from generators or with automatic feedback systems. So these are also called as retarders. Retarders are the one which enables to change polarization of light wave by a specific amount. So these polarization controllers can be used in polarization switching, scrambling, multiplexing, and dispersion compensators. Dispersion compensators. The chromatic dispersion drastically reduces the transmission distance when a bitrate is high. If the dispersion pulse broadens and the compensators are not used, the bit error rate will increase. Hence, the dispersion compensator modules are used for fine tuning. So these compensators are used in chipped FPGs as shown in the figure. When I say chipped FPGs, it means that it is having a variable distance between the gratings. So hence a dynamic tuner is used for dispersion, which uses the chipped FPGs. So the dispersion compensator essentially means cancelling of chromatic dispersion of some optical components like FPGs. So the fiber optical links without dispersion compensator, each signal would be broadened so that it would strongly overlap with a number of neighboring symbols. So even for moderate broadening, significantly we call it as an ISI, that is inter-symbol interference, can strongly distort the detected signal. Hence, it is very essential to compensate the dispersion before detecting the signal. Tunable light sources in optical fiber communication systems. It is desirable to use single light sources over the range of wavelengths instead of having array of lasers. So there are several tuning options are available in case of tunable light sources. It can be a wavelength tuning lasers, frequency tuning lasers, and tuning filters also. And one type of tunable light source is discussed here, that is external cavity tunable laser. So in this, the laser changes their wavelengths with varying resonance conditions for lasing wavelengths. The example shows the cavity tunable laser. The cavity scheme uses grating. We can see that it uses a grating and a MEMS based fine tuning mirror. The modulating the grating reflector, it provides a combination of wavelength peaks, and later it tunes tunes and then selects one of these peaks. So this types of devices are basically used in C-band applications. Some of the advantages of tunable light sources are the tuning is possible without changing the output power, and it reduces the complexity of the network, and very narrow timing is possible in case of tunable light sources. Dielectric thin film filters are used as a optical band pass filters. These are the one which allows very narrow wavelength band to pass through them and reflect all other wavelengths. The figure A shows a number of cavities which are constructed using dielectric mirror plates, and figure B shows the transmission versus wavelength plot, wherein it shows the narrow wavelength bands that are passing through them and reflecting the other wavelengths. So this dielectric thin films are based on the principle of Fabry-Perot cavity. The Fabry-Perot cavity principle is shown in this figure. So it has two mirrors where both are highly reflective facets separated by a distance d. So when light enters these reflective facets from left surface of the resonator, it enters the cavity first and it strikes the inner surface of the mirror, and then it reflects to the right side mirror. When it hits the right side mirror, some portion of the light leaves the cavity and some are reflected. So the reflected light strikes again the inner surface of the left side mirror, again gets reflected, and this process continues. The small amount of light that gets into the cavity will will bounce in within the mirror's facets for a while, but ultimately absorbed by some losses. This principle is due to the destructive interference, and we call it as a non-resonant wavelength. So when light of resonant wavelengths reaches the entry mirror, it passes through the cavity without any losses due to the constructive interference. We call it as a resonant wavelength. So this dielectric thin film filters, the passband occurs at wavelengths satisfying the condition n lambda is equal to 2n into d, where n is an integer, lambda is operating wavelength, d is the distance between two mirrors. Such dielectric thin film filters are used in multiplexing and selected wavelengths and demultiplexing networks. Mach-Zehnder interferometer. So these are the devices where the incident light is split by first directional coupler and the phase difference of the two light waves, that is pi by 2. There is additional phase difference due to the length delta L. So the construction is shown in the figure. The Mach-Zehnder interferometer or MZI basically consists of input directional coupler, phase shifter and output directional coupler. So when an input beam is splitted and one of the beam gets phase shifted by a phase shifter, finally the recombined signal will interfere constructively at one output and destructively at other output, thus giving the output from only the port. The signal entering the device is split through a Y splitter in two directions. In a properly constructed device, half of the signal goes in each direction and polarization is not affected. Also, when there is no phase delay, the signal is recombined at Y junction, that is at the coupler stage, immediately before the light exits the device. Since the signal in each arm are coherent with each other, the recombination and the expected 3 dB loss of the recombining Y coupler is not experienced. When there is a difference in the uh, first case, when we saw that when there is no phase delay, but if there is a delay at the destination, that is Y coupler, the signal will now be out of phase with one another. So when these signals recombine, it will be lost. The optical power will be lost because the signals will interfere with each other. Also, one more condition we can think of, that is a phase difference at the destination can be caused either by a real difference in the length of the two arms of the interferometer or by the difference in the optical length. For example, if the refractive index in one arm is changed, the signal will be travelled at a different speed and will arrive out of phase with the signal in the other arm.